Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
You know what it's like. You're stuck on the phone to ask about a product or service. That's after the frustration of not having your email returned. The call is an auto response where you're given a list of options. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. But none of them is actually what you're looking for. So you go elsewhere. The business has just lost a customer because of its too efficient by half processes. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Sales expert Sue Barrett says there's nothing wrong with streamlining your processes and cutting costs, but it shouldn't be at the expense of the customer and their experience. She says you need to step into your customer's shoes once in a while to see what you're like to deal with. Chris Ashmore asks Sue, when it comes to communicating with clients, have some businesses chosen the more efficient route to their detriment?
I do believe that some businesses, particularly large ones, not just with COVID, but it's become more stark with COVID, have chosen the efficiency route only, but at the expense of the customer experience. So what they've done in some respects is try to reduce their effort to service customers by providing, if you like, automatic robot facilities, which, if there are complex issues, can't help you. Then you try to speak to a human, you're waiting to speak to someone. That can take forever. And when people are in heightened states of anxiety, distress, or trying to work out how the rules have changed because of COVID and those sorts of things, this does nothing but elevate people's anxieties, distress, and frustration. I mean, just for example, I don't know about you, but I've had several interstate business trips cancelled or postponed because of COVID. And depending what type of airfare that you buy, some of them there's just no way to talk to a human or to try to do it online. And so basically they're holding your money hostage and you can't get your money back. There are other situations with banks where they make it particularly difficult for the lower end customer, be it business to consumer or even business to business, to actually get sensible answers about how to run their operations. And as you know, smaller businesses and consumers don't have big legal teams and other business professionals around them to do all that groundwork. And so imagine the lost productivity for businesses and individuals trying to navigate how to do something that they have a right to do as a customer, but the businesses have gone so far down the route of efficiency that they've basically made it very difficult for customers to do business with them. I actually wonder, sounds a bit cynical, I know, if they actually don't want to deal with these sorts of people, so they actually make it harder for us to engage with them. It's kind of ironic, isn't it, when everyone talks about being customer-centric and we care about you. Well, for some businesses, it's a bit like greenwashing. They actually don't care about their customers. They just want to be as efficient as possible at our expense. Sorry to be cynical, but it's really been on show with different types of businesses and industries, particularly through COVID.
Is this a failure of leadership, Sue? I mean, leaders, particularly in big companies, they're not the ones on the front line dealing with customers, and yet they're directing the actions of their frontline staff.
Yes, it is. I mean, there's this old German saying, you sweep the staircase from the top. With leadership in business, if they are in cost-cutting mode and profit maximisation mode, and they don't actually understand how humans interact with humans, and they think it's all about efficiency, they have lost the plot when it comes to business. Business is a solution to human needs. If they actually factored that in to their business decisions, they might realise that actually doing business with them isn't particularly pleasant unless you have lots of money or you're considered a high net worth client where you can get high levels of service. I do think they've dropped the ball in this space, and they do need to understand and realise that if they're forcing us to go down these paths, they need to provide support that allows humans, like I said, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, some of these things are so difficult to navigate. I can't imagine for people, as I said, who English might be a second language for them if they don't provide other languages, or people who have not as high intellect to handle complex navigational problem-solving modes. I mean, people just give up. That's what they rely on. They hope you give up and get frustrated. And there's a thing called confusion marketing that some of them do deploy, and whilst it's not illegal, I think it's immoral. So they actually make it really hard for people to compare prices. They make it really hard for people to engage with them. And some of these businesses deliberately deploy confusion marketing tactics.
Mazars is an international audit, tax and advisory firm committed to helping clients confidently build and grow their businesses. Experience a new perspective with Mazars. Visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
You've said before, Sue, that customer service teams are the new salespeople and profit centre. Can you elaborate on that?
With customer service teams, if they're allowed to speak to other humans, they have a lot of interactions with customers and they hear a lot of things that actually happen. So number one, they are a huge resource for market research about what the customer's telling them and what they want and what's important to them. Secondly, if the customer service team are enabled to spot opportunities to help customers either do better business with them, find new products or services they can engage with and facilitate that, then you can actually really improve the profitability of your sales and the revenue of your business. I think that this is a really big missed opportunity. To me, selling is always a team sport. It's not just the purview of a salesperson or sales team. All of us need to be incorporated into how we engage and work with customers. For example, there are those people that we would call technical experts or people that are brought in on technical situations, particularly in business-to-business sales. Those people are upfront with customers. They're upfront and close and personal with them nearly every day. They can spot opportunity. They don't actually have to sell it in, but if they spot it and pass it on to a salesperson, there's another opportunity that you can actually work on. But why not engage those people to be able to ignite those opportunities as well? And so we've done a lot of work training technical people as well as sales and customer service people how to be really effective human-to-human professional salespeople. And we've actually found that a lot of those people really enjoy this. They love problem solving. They love helping people. We just have to show them how to do it in a customer-centric way. And many of them actually take to it really, really well. So imagine this. Imagine doubling or tripling your sales force overnight without actually having to put on an extra person, because your customer service and technical support teams are part of the sales team. That's super impressive. And we know it works because we've seen it and helped it happen inside organisations.
Okay, then let's roll up our sleeves, Sue, and how do you deliver customer-centric experiences?
Well, it's important to understand, what you're there to do as a business. What's your purpose? Who are your customers? And what are you trying to help them achieve? If we start with a client-facing strategy where we look at our markets and understand how we need to engage and work with them, that really helps determine how we're going to go to market. We then have to set up the processes and systems in place to enable our client-facing teams, sales, service, tech support, whomever, to be able to execute that effectively. So we need to give them access to tools and resources and frameworks, the knowledge and skills to be able to execute that effectively. Then we have to make sure we help keep developing them so that they stay fit and focused and sharp on being able to work this. And then, of course, you need to establish a conscious culture that genuinely is focused on being customer-centric. And we look at these sorts of things around the 3 C's, having clarity. And all the things I just mentioned give you clarity. It gives you direction and focus and purpose. You set up the minimum standards of excellence you want to see across those teams, so consistency. So we don't have random acts of sales, and we don't have sales by personality where you've got people, I'll be like Chris, he's amazing. We actually have people working to a standard, and they can see why Chris is amazing, how he does what he does. And so that then allows people to actually develop their capability around a consistent framework and standard. And then we need to communicate. We have got to be able to actually be great voices of what's happening out there, communicate internally, show people what our efforts are doing and how we're creating great opportunities out there, what is expected of people, standards and so on, and then communicate that out to customers as well. And when we do those 3 C's, which I find missing in most organisations, when we bring them to the fore consciously, then you start to build a really committed, collaborative team that's built on trustworthiness and really does actually build respect and drive great results. That's what we're asking people to look at. But again, it doesn't happen by chance, and it shouldn't be random acts of sales. This can be a great system that you can implement.
That was Barrett Consulting Group CEO, Sue Barrett. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Executive producer is Heather Dawson. Producers are Nick Schilberger, Chris Ashmore, Jeff Waters, and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts and Belinda Trimboli. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.